Welcome to the Tri-Cities Mixtape. This is Miguel. Today we have another interview. I am joined with my co-host, Vic Williamson.
What's going on, y'all?
Yeah. Vic, how you been, man?
I've been chilling, playing music with some of the people that are going to be featured in here today. So
Right, yeah. Shout out. Today on the show, we have a musician, a venue owner, event planner, and their business associate. Today we have
Dara Quinn
and
Alicia Cullison.
Welcome to the Tri-Cities Mixtape.
Woo! Yeah. I think you forgot one of Dara's superlatives, also being a legend of the Tri-Cities.
Well, I thought we would work our way up to that. But yeah, before you got here, I told her that we wouldn't glaze her too hard. You know? Yeah.
I didn't get the memo.
No, okay, yeah. But no, anybody who's listened to this episode before or knows anything, who's ever gone to a show in the Tri-Cities, no. Hello?
You about to have a lot of editing for this.
Yes. Vic, do you mind just quarterbacking this for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever questions you got to ask. But I guess we already got into it, right?
Yeah, we're pretty much starting to get into it already. Dara, I mean, you are the face of the company. You can go into a little bit what you do here with, Emerald Spark, and then maybe talk more about yourselves in general, where we were going, like how it started.
I've been in the music industry for, professionally 40 years. Is that
Awesome.
true? I don't know. My first paid gig was probably when I was 16, so let's see. At least 30 years, where all my life's journeys in music, which has been a passion of mine, since childhood, has brought me to this point where after being a touring musician and after owning a music venue, and now my newest conquest is this event planning company and bringing more and bigger live entertainment to the Tri-Cities. And that's where Alicia comes in, as we met on the set of a festival last year. Worked really well together, so we started this company together because I saw her work ethic, and she arguably works as hard or harder than me, which is probably hard to find. And so together with Emerald Spark Events is the name of our company. And we starting with two big projects, the Clover Island Concert Series, their 20th anniversary season. We're taking it over. We have taken it over. We've booked all the acts for it. And we're producing that whole series this year in 2025. And we have another big event we're doing is a Fusion Fest 2025, a community festival with a musical flair in June of this year.
Oh, yeah.
And then some miscellaneous other shows around town. We just finished a Mardi Gras show last night. That was super fun at the Uptown Theater. We have a U2 tribute band coming to the theater in a couple weeks. And whatever else comes up, I've been doing booking for some other venues and
Awesome.
Dabbling in some artist management.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're expanding. I love
so
that.
We have multiple services that we offer with our event planning company. Yeah.
And you feel like your experience yourself through your journey as a musician kind of puts you on track to aspire to do this? Because I know you started out saying you were really wanting to do touring music and being a venue owner, to now you're managing this events company. Was that desire kind of shaped by your path as a musician?
Yeah, I would say it's well-rounded because I've been on both sides.
Right.
I've been a touring musician. I know what the musicians want out of their travels and how they like to be treated where they go. And then I've been a venue owner, and I can see, how the finances come into play, and, how you would hope that the musicians would act towards you.
Right.
So I've gotten to experience from both sides of the music industry, at least, the wants and needs of everybody, and trying to tie them together with this company. I've experienced that lately with doing bookings for another venue. I'm trying to get the best value for the venue with quality music and also get the musicians what they deserve. So, seeing it from both sides and being rounded, hopefully it's a great deal for everybody involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's a balancing game for sure. But
yeah, it's
a
a tough industry, and but music is the best thing in the world, so we have to help it be. We have to keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going. And then there's generally more understanding in that. Hopefully, if you're participating in the music scene at all, you have some understanding and compassion for the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you said you met Alicia at a show.
Mm-hmm. We
How
met
long ago
producing a
and-
show, which
Okay,
was
producing the show.
yeah. We met producing a festival. I was on the advising committee and did a lot of the legwork for it. And Alicia came in kind of last minute as a volunteer coordinator and rallied a whole bunch of people together to help the festival be as successful as it could be. And we worked together quite a bit and sometimes for long hours. And I really saw her work ethic. And we really connected, I think, like socially, like our way that we look at people and how to treat them and that kind of side of thing. I don't know what's a word for that.
Our values
Values,
align, I
yes.
guess.
Our values really
Values.
align,
We
and our
had friends in common, so they also knew each of us in different ways.
yeah
You're
values
vouched for.
and work ethic, I think, really aligned, and so that's how we. And then this opportunity to do the concert series came up, and it just kind of like, I don't know, it happened really organically and quickly. So it was like, we should start a company. We should run this thing. And it's like, yeah. So she's game and she's a music lover too. So she sees that value side of things as well. So from another corner of participant, you know, you have your musician, you have your venue, you have your participant.
Right.
So I think together we have a really good set of skills and experience to do what we're doing. It's kind of a no-brainer. I love no-brainers.
Oh, yeah. I love the diverse perspectives that are introduced. And just like you said once before when we were talking, casting a wide net, that you're effectively having the network reach for so many people coming from y'all's backgrounds. I wanted to talk a little bit more about you too, Alicia. So kind of how did you find yourself involved in the music industry and volunteering of all things as well? I know I do volunteering and there's always some moment that makes you realize like, hey, I want to serve. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I grew up with a dad who's a sound engineer, sound technician. So I was always around stages. I was always winding cords and moving mic stands and doing all that stuff. So I was kind of comfortable with the equipment.
Nice.
And, my parents did have me in lots of music lessons. And it wasn't my thing. I didn't really resonate with it. But I still value it. And I still... I'm glad that there's people in the world like Dara who can just sit down and basically just like a few minutes ago gave us a great concert here, in the room. And I find that amazing. And any way I can support that, I'm here for. My dad, he was always into, Miles Davis, Pat Metheny, Joni Mitchell, all these really, great names. And so I had a lot of exposure to a lot of really good music growing up. To me, I was always drawn to the music scene. And then as a teen, I grew up in Salem, Oregon. And so we would go to Portland for shows mostly, There was this club in Portland in the 90s called La Luna. And some people will recognize that. It's not around anymore. But so between La Luna and Monkey Presents, and they're still around. And there was just always a show to go to in Portland. And that was when Warped Tour was starting up, and I loved starting, the festival thing growing up. And I was just at a birthday party this week, and a friend and I realized we were at the same Bumbershoot in like 1999, where we saw Cake and the Violent Femmes together. And I don't know, I just feel like, it's just been, even from way back then, it's just kind of, I've always been part of the audience, even if I wasn't directly involved. So yeah, I do kind of have more of that audience perspective, I think, and I value and appreciate.
And backstage, apparently. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just don't put me on the stage; I'll freeze up.
I love that. Just, especially where you said, like, you took the music lessons and it didn't really resonate with you for being a musician, but it even further grew your appreciation for music and seeing how else you can support and be involved in the scene. I played, before I moved to the Tri-Cities in Atlanta, I played in a couple of bands, and I just got used to, always performing and being on stage. But then when I moved here, I was like, I'm not playing in a single music project for at least a year. I just want to go be at other people's shows and just be a part of the scene without worrying about getting, somewhere, having all my stuff and worrying about my set and, not drinking till after my set, all those different things. And it really helped me develop a separate appreciation for everybody else that's participating in the scene, and like how else can we support them? That's awesome. And I love music here in the Tri-Cities. And before I moved here, the very first thing when I Googled live music, Tri-Cities, Washington, first thing that comes up is the Emerald of Siam. Yeah. So Dara, you've been doing it. Everybody in town knows your name. They know what you do. They know what you're about. I feel like that really puts you in a position to be coordinating all of these things because of all of your connections out here, not even just in the Northwest, but especially in the Northwest. Do you feel like the connections and the relationships that you've made over time helped you to come into, I guess, the position to be putting on like a concert series and helping to produce a Fusion Fest and such large events?
Yes, definitely. Over the years, I've built connections. When I first started doing live music at the venue, the first musicians to play there were extractions from the Portland and Seattle scenes that I had known from my previous performing life, basically begging them to come over and play at my club that we were just starting. Originally it started from friends from the industry and then growing into them telling their friends that there's a cool venue out here. And so, after a year or so, getting calls from particularly Seattle and Portland quite a bit, people on their circuit, and then growing to California and then growing to national. And I've had at this point international acts at the Emerald of Siam. I've had, people from Italy and Jamaica and, and then, in the United States, Chicago, New York, New Orleans, stopping by over the years. So growing that I've been booking the venue for about 13 years, I think, has really built my network of people nationally and some internationally. But, I have dozens of booking agents that I've had contact with and that I've worked with, whether or not I've booked their band that they were pushing. I still, there's some agents that I talk to who I've never booked any of their bands, but we've just over the years, we have this contact and we have this communication. So, with this concert series, I've been booking bands that I would never be able to fit into my club. And a lot of these are through the contacts of just having my club though. So, and just having a club for so long and having to turn down so many bigger acts because of our capacity. And, so it's this is really fun for me because I can kind of book some bigger shows that I haven't been able to accommodate, and hopefully that wants to participate. But, yeah. So, it's all been this flow from me performing and getting to know musicians, in my touring circuit. And then from their other fan out to their friends and then having the venue and bringing them through. And it's just been this growth over the last, since I started my music career to the point where I know a lot of people now and I know how the industry works from most angles.
Yeah. I like a word that you continue to use so far is organic, and how everything has happened organically. And I think that's just so key because it seems like that's how you're so well-rounded and wholesome along the path. You didn't really try to push anything. All of the building blocks came together as they were supposed to with you just following your passion, it seems.
Yeah, that's kind of my MO, is kind of letting the universe flow. Going with the flow, I guess you could say. I don't like to push things. I don't like to force things. Often I do rely on the flow to bring things together. And that's, I think, when it's like the best organically is best, because there's no forcing, there's no lying or cheating or all that stuff, it's just kind of like, it's the way that the universe brings it together. And sometimes you don't get what you want, what you think you want. And I like to go with that as well as it's meant to be. You know, if you desire something and you can't have it, okay, that's okay, because the next thing's going to be better. So trying to go with, and I think that Alicia and I very much agree on that as well, as far as, you know, our personalities being able to work together well in the business, is we also share that in our values. Is, you know, if it's seeming like it's a rocky situation, you know, let's not push it. Let's just leave that and go on to the next. And
what's one of the biggest hurdles that you've experienced so far as a company?
There's a whole element of producing in music that is also like sales and marketing, for sponsorships. I mean, selling tickets, of course, obviously also, and marketing for audience members and that too. But there's a whole element of sponsorship sales that I find it a really like exciting part of marketing because of all the unique things you can get from marketing through live events as opposed to just on TV or on the radio, just generally, spreading a message. But at the same time, I wasn't, I can write a contract, I can write a standard operating procedure, I can make sure, everybody's getting, the right paperwork done and all that. But the actual sales part is probably the biggest challenge for me. Like, I want to let people know what's available and like how I think it could benefit them. But then I'm not, I don't know, maybe I'm not pushy
It's scary
enough.
asking people for money. It's really scary to ask people for money.
Yeah.
I'm not great at that stuff either. There's something about it, especially when you're coming at it from like a little bit more volunteer natured, wanting to help and support, but not so much thinking about profits, but you kind of have to.
I see for a lot of nonprofits. And it's a whole different thing asking for donations, but it's very similar to me. But I think I kind of show people the menu and I'm like, how would you like to get involved? And I need to work more on that whole closing or something. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if any of this is usable, but that's my real honest, like, what's been the hardest.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid hurdle in my opinion. And it seems like you've already kind of identified some things that you want to work on for it. That's awesome. Closing. Eesh. Yes.
The new festival is about the community and by the community and for the community, and we hope to give opportunities for every person to be involved if they would like to, and to have a great time and to work together, and nobody's being taken advantage of, and nobody's getting stiffed, and nobody, it's just we're looking forward to providing a very positive experience for everybody involved.
Yeah, and everybody's contribution is valued. I think that's really important to convey to people. The event we're talking about currently is a lot smaller this year, so there's a lot of expectation management, but we're hoping to find a place for everybody who wants to participate.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with, especially when you're restructuring something, taking a step back. Hey, maybe it's not pushing numbers all the time, but it's not always about pushing numbers when you want it to be a quality event that's, like we're saying, is balanced out for the venue and the artists and everybody. I like what you said, like shaking the bad press from previous iterations of what you've inherited, and now you are trying to project y'all's clearly aligned values. And so, and the Tri-Cities just needs that. I love what's trying to happen here, and I think different things are just falling into the right hands. And especially like you said, you've been here, you've been a staple, you've been doing music for 30 plus years. You've just been a huge fan to the extent that I love, like Alicia, like the support and also the talent and experience from your journey so far. It looks like it's definitely a synergistic approach for the Emerald Spark. That's so awesome. And thank you for being like so transparent with your answers to my question. I know it's a hard one, but it's just really important, especially when you said y'all roll with the punches and kind of navigate things efficiently together. I wanted to hear about it, and y'all had plenty to say about each other's experiences.
Yeah, well, and we were talking before we started. I've listened to this podcast, so I trust you guys that you're going to put in what's valuable and leave what's not.
Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. Neil's really good with post. And we don't try to modify or twist your words. I'm going to paste it right back to back, make it sound like you said something else. I wanted to come back and talk about anything extra that you do want to reveal or something that you're excited about working on moving forward. So you mentioned that you have the Clover Island Concert Series that you're working on now, and that's all year. And then Fusion Fest in June, right?
Yeah, June 14th is the culmination of it, but June 9th through 14th, that whole week, we want to kind of brand as Fusion Week and get as many venues and local businesses involved as possible.
Excellent.
Yeah, so the difference with the Sears Festival is the main event is one day at John Dam Plaza, and it will have a headlining act from Portland, and then the rest are local, pretty much. So it won't be the same in last year's way as the festival booked, I don't know, was it 90 bands? I can't remember how many. Yeah, it just we're just booking like about 7 acts and probably having a second stage with like children's theater type events, and then but the whole thing goes from June 9th to 14th all around town. It can be anywhere in the Tri-Cities, and we have these wristband partner program where if you buy a wristband, you get into the main event and you get discounts all around town all week long, or cool. Perks or whatever that local businesses want to offer. And we're encouraging those businesses to have special events, to have a musician, to have a wine tasting, or have various events at their place, showcase their own place. And we promote all of the local businesses. It's bringing the community, showing the community what we have to offer here, showing outside the community what we have to offer here, and a map of to-dos around town. And so people can participate by buying a wristband. They get into the main event, but there's also a lot of free things going on, including at John Dam Plaza on the main event day. There'll be vendors, and the second stage is free. There's just the bowl around the John Dam, the stage is what's paid and VIP entry. So that being said, for expenses, we're relying on sponsorship, partnerships, and then ticket sales just to, pay for the event, pay for the fencing and all the logistical stuff, and the bands who are getting, doing the main stage. Whereas the expenses are quite significantly less than last year's because we're only taking care of one venue, whereas the community take care of their own. And with all the cross promotion between us, hopefully it's a poppin' week. Everyone's having, going out, exploring their community places, whether or not they buy a wristband or not, they go to that wine tasting or they go watch that musician.
Right.
So it's just kind of like a week of things to do.
And so I think it's kind of a fun day to cross-pollinate some of the different venues and things there are to do around town. And I think sometimes Tri-Cities gets this reputation of being boring or something, but I think it's really just that people get really used to their little circles, and then
the
they
same
like
routines and the same stuff.
And so I'm hoping that can be another perk of this festival, is that people kind of get to look up and out and see and try something new that week. And also having all these different venues involved, we're hoping that they want to get their own audiences involved, and hopefully that diversifies the whole thing, because we recognize that we are only 2 people from one town. So in order to make this a whole community, whole region thing, we need to get the other venues and businesses involved, and musicians, and in order to have representation from all over.
Exactly.
I wanted to note too, there are a couple other big events happening simultaneously. We encourage them to as well be a part of the team. Like the Sacagawea Bluegrass Festival, I think, is the same weekend. And there's a Chinook Fest, okay. And
Chinook
there's
Fest.
like the Players are having a really super awesome soiree, Players Theater in the Parkway. And it's not, I don't look at, and I've always taken this stance since I started putting live music in the Emerald, is it's not about competition, it's about nurturing the community spirit, and
right.
So like all of these events, like the Bluegrass Festival, I'm all for it. And if they want to be on our map, be on the map. And the Parkway, the Players Theater, they also will be on the map. And it's just all a part of the community. It's everybody's. It's for everyone, and it's like I was saying. It's not competing. It's nurturing, and the more the better. The more the merrier. And that's kind of always the way. Because when we started doing live music at the Emerald, Ray's was currently open, I believe. Yeah, they were open at the time, but I've never felt competition with Ray's. Only community with them. You know, I'm the worst with vocabulary. I
Nope,
want cooler words.
I like
I
the way
want
you're
better
phrasing
words.
everything. I said I like the way you're phrasing everything. I took that, I wrote it down. They're not competition, they're neighbors to nurture.
Yes.
I like
Yes,
that.
that's how I always like said, and even, you know, with whoever. But, you know, Ray's is the other music venue in the Uptown, and we're buddies, and we're doing a joint, you know, punk rock crawl in a couple weeks, and
Right, I heard about
you
that.
know,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we're friends. We're all in this together, and that's kind of, you know, another thing like the festival. We're all in this together, and
Mm-hmm.
it's finding what we have in common instead of what divides us. And music is a very good central way of doing that because
Oh, yes.
it's the language with no words. You know, I mean, you know, some people sing songs, and you know, but music is universal. It's a universal language, so I think it kind of ties in well with that.
Big time. I like the emphasis that y'all are putting on the small business economy, you know, by what you're hoping to achieve with the Fusion Fest. You're hoping to stimulate Tri-Cities small business economy. And that's one huge thing I noticed about the Tri-Cities when I first moved here. I try to, you know, take stock in everything, look at what I've gotten myself into. And wow, this place loves to prioritize the small local businesses over, you know, a lot of the big box stores and stuff like that. I'll say a lot of people like to lean towards chain restaurants here for some reason, and they just can't shake their Olive Garden and Red Lobster when there's the Emerald right down the street. But, you know, I did notice like small businesses here, they really love on each other. They work for each other. They try to serve each other and uplift each other. And I love that you're tapped into that same theme. Way ahead, you said this year's fest is going to be a little bit smaller than previous iterations, but that's for a reason. You know, we're quality checking. We're making sure that everything's in alignment with our values and what we want to be representative of the Tri-Cities. Like, that's so awesome.
Yeah, and I do want to add kind of that it's like a foundational year. We're really seeing it as a foundational year.
I love that.
So we want to build something that's strong and that benefits everybody who participates, so that they want to continue to be involved. Because if they don't want to do it, it's not worth doing, right? And you know, not all these ideas are totally original. Like, you know, like I'm an avid audience member, so Tree Fort in Boise happens every year, and I think it's more of an organic thing that's happened over there. But when Tree Fort's happening that whole week in March, tons of the businesses just offer discounts because they want Tree Fort goers to come and spend at their business, right? And so I just saw so much like mutual benefit in that happening, and so that's why I think it's a great service we can provide as the event organizers to collect, I guess maybe collate all that data from the week of who wants to do what, who wants to have, you know, $1 off a coffee today, or who wants to have, you know, happy hour prices all day for wristband holders, or who wants to have whatever it's going to be, 15% off. We don't need it to be a huge thing, a huge ask for each business. We definitely don't want it we want it to benefit their business, to increase traffic and stuff. So whatever that means for their business is absolutely fine. But we definitely want all the different parts of this thing to be mutually beneficial for the participants.
We're talking about so many actors at this point that got something in it for them. The musicians, the venues, the small businesses that don't even have that much to do with music, encouraging them to have their own promotions and maybe feature a live artist for once. So like all of these little events, like we're talking about like a pretty huge impact, and I like the sound of it.
I'd like to ask some fun questions, and so we'll start with Dara. We're gonna book the biggest show that ever happened in the Tri-Cities. I think the biggest venue here is the arena, right? Toyota Center. Is that the biggest venue?
I probably.
Okay, so the biggest show in Tri-Cities is happening. Your band is opening up. You get to pick the middle and the headliner, and they could be any bands throughout history and time. So if you want the Beatles and Selena, and so it's the biggest show in Tri-Cities, and then you're next up. The next night, your show is up. Alicia, so Dara.
Who would I want to see, basically?
Yeah. But you get to open up, so you get to play.
If I'm playing,
Are you going to do solo piano, or are you going to do one of your bands?
I would have to do one of my bands.
Okay.
And I would have to align the other acts with my genre.
Okay. What do you got?
So honestly, Herbie Hancock pops into mind first.
Okay.
Herbie Hancock's Headhunters.
Yeah, you can go specific era too. Like if you want Prince, but just like the first 4 albums, you know.
I do love Prince.
Right?
I do love me some Prince.
Yeah.
Boy, I wish I would have prepared for this question.
Well, no, it's
That's part of the fun of it.
But yeah, let's see.
No, Alicia's over there.
I
like,
do love
I can
Prince.
scheme for a
Actually,
second.
now that you mention it, who would I have? Oh, jeez. Okay, so I would open then Herbie Hancock. So I'm gonna go bigger on the next one, and who that will be will have to be. Now you're in my face too, and I can't even think of.
All the pressure.
No pressure, but there's pressure.
You're like P-Funk.
Oh yes.
Yo.
Yes.
But I don't think they could fill the Toyota Center, honestly.
Well, no, I mean, this is a dream show.
Yeah.
It's your dream show.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's going to be a sold out show either way.
Yeah.
I like Prince better. I don't want you to think I stole your
you
idea.
put
but
words in
I
her
do
mouth, Miguel.
love Prince, and I would love to have seen Prince.
Yeah, I'm
Never
sad that I
did
didn't.
get to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Oh.
My band, then Herbie Hancock's Headhunters, and then Prince.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And then on the next night, we have Alicia's show.
Oh no!
Biggest show
See,
in the
if it was
history of
just,
Tri-Cities since last
active
night.
bands, it'd be so much easier. Like just currently touring bands is so much easier because that's what I'm constantly looking at right now. Okay, I would have to say the Cold War Kids would be there.
Oh, shut up. I was
Hey.
listening to them before y'all showed
They're my
up.
favorite.
It's funny.
They're my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh man. You know, I got my Northwest Kids, so I want to say like the Shins and
Okay.
Modest Mouse.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The shit.
That's all rock dust we got there.
That's
Hell yeah.
that cut right
Does
there.
that work?
There'll be so many dudes with horn glasses in there. Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty
Yes.
tight.
Thank you. Okay, so Dara, you do have a very eclectic music taste, right? You play several different genres and even several different genres within one band. Do you have any guilty pleasure songs? Any music that like you'd be embarrassed, you know? Or let's say you're driving in the car, the windows down, you're playing something loud, but you pull up next to a car full of peers. And what song would have to be on for you to roll up your windows so they don't see you listening to it?
probably like Hall and Oates.
Oh, really?
And what's his name? Huey Lewis.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I would totally hate him if it was not for the movie Back to the Future.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
Kind of why I hate him, but
damn
it's also
that.
kind of why I don't hate him. Is Back to the Future.
Yeah. That's funny. That kind of stuff. Some 80s.
Yeah.
Some
Like what would make your
80s
partner
schmaltz.
or your kids look at you like, what? You like this? Anything?
They're always surprised when I'm like bumping like Salt and Pepper.
Oh, really?
And like, the old school rap
Yeah.
stuff. They always look at me funny with that. But those are my jams too.
Yeah, yeah.
My first
Come on.
band was rap.
Oh,
group.
really?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, when I was 16, 17. Actually, DJ Ricochet,
Yeah.
he was in that band
Okay.
with
wow.
me. Yeah, so this is many, many years ago. We've known each other that long. And when I was 16, I was in a rap group with DJ Ricochet.
Were you playing keys?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Oh.
I was Pop Rocks D.
Yeah. Oh, that was your hip hop name.
Yeah.
I'm so here for it. Hey, yo.
That's a lot. To
I'm
put
gonna
on
be
a
calling
gold
you
chain,
D
but I
all the
think we should
time
do
now,
it.
for real. We dropping the aura.
I've had nicknames. But when I was in the Seattle scene, and I played with a band called Ghoul Booty, and he had Skerrick on saxophone. I don't know if you know Skerrick. And it was basically an all-star Seattle funk band.
Oh, wow.
We'd play only on Halloween. And they
Oh.
did it for many years. I was in, a few years of it, but over the, they did it for, say, 20 years, and I was in it 5-6 times. But my name from that was Da Queen.
Oh, yes.
Queen.
Love that. Actually, just a tangential or random piano question. How do you feel about the keytar?
I love the keytar,
You-
and
have
I
you ever
would love
played
to
one?
rock a keytar. I have a keytar.
Oh, you do have one.
I wish my Christmas list, which has been on my list for a long time, is a wireless keytar with also internal speakers.
Oh, okay.
or something, because I would like. It's so funny because I play with so many bands who come through the Emerald, because I've been known to sit in with a lot of bands of all genres,
Yeah.
and my little dream is that they're like some band is playing, and then I just like pop out from the kitchen with a keytar and like waltz up onto
From the
stage.
kitchen is even
Yes.
better. That's so good.
So I do have a keytar. The MIDI. Actually, my friend just fixed up the MIDI situation for me, but I bought it in like 1996.
Oh,
and I
oh,
played
wow.
it one time at a house show at this place called The Loft.
Yeah.
Which is still going. It's the Monkey Bar now or something like that. Anyway, I played it one time, and then I hit like the wrong buttons, and the MIDI like went awry. And I've had that thing sitting in my possession since 1996, only having been played once. But one of my employees, Ricky, he's a DJ and like gearhead.
Ricky James.
Ricky
Shout
James.
out Ricky.
He took
We
it
love
home.
Ricky James.
I have
And
a
he's
luminary
fixed
sticker
it.
on my laptop.
Yes.
Says it works, and he's gonna get it back to me. So this is monumental. It's not wireless though,
Right. Yeah.
Because I would like to jump around and.
Yeah.
Guitar rock star.
But yeah, I'm totally into it. I love the guitar. Thank you for asking.
No, God,
Sorry, it was
that
a long
was a beautiful
answer.
tangent. No, I love it. I'm all
I
for
know
it.
that's what you were looking for all
Yeah,
this
yes,
time.
Yes, at least I know I've left my mark on the show now.
There's
we went on a crazy guitar tangent.
one of the bands, No Soap Radio, but they had a guitar, right? I think he played a lot of guitar. They're opening for the Cherry Poppin' Daddies at the Island this year. No Soap Radio, and they play a lot of guitar.
Oh,
They do an awesome show, and
Yeah.
they are a regional and Northwest band.
Yeah, they're from
Moscow, I think.
Closer.
Moscow.
It's time to embarrass you.
Sorry.
Alicia.
Not hard.
Yeah, I don't know what sort of reputation you have, but those who know you and love you, what would they be surprised to know that you rock with?
I would say Christopher Cross.
Oh, okay.
Some sailing.
Yeah. Yacht rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
I know. See, I would have to roll my windows all the way up. Make sure I'm not mouthing the words.
Yeah. Any others?
Okay. I love Broadway musicals. So
I'm not
I
ashamed
have
of my love for Broadway music.
I have XM radio, and I listen to that Broadway channel way too much, and I know too many lyrics. And
can
my
be friends
kids are
again.
always like, "What is this song even about?"
You one of the people who got kicked out of Wicked for singing in the theater?
No, no. I'm very polite in public, but man, if I'm in my car,
Yeah.
Whole different story. The windows are up. Oh.
Yeah, that was awesome. You guys are great. Thank you. Both y'all. Any advice for young musicians, young people who want to, become more active in the scene, who want to be more than a fan? What can you tell us? You want to start with Alicia? She seems like she is dying to say something.
Yeah, we're glad you asked.
Okay.
She's got something really awesome brewing.
She's not holding up a sign telling me to ask this question, I promise.
it's true, but I get to plug it anyway. So I have a program getting ready to start up called Amplify.
Okay, to be honest, I did not know this. For real.
Yeah.
This was not
No, I
set
have
up in any way.
not made this public
Okay,
yet.
Awesome.
These two.
You're hearing it here first, Miguel.
Yeah.
But it's basically like an intern program, so it's for young people. Although technically they don't have to be young,
Right.
And basically just gives them a taste of the backside of the music industry. So obviously the local music industry first, getting to know what a mixing board looks like,
Yeah.
what, just kind of being around some of this stuff is cool. But there's also a whole lot of marketing and graphic design and tech stuff that comes in, and and I was always more exposed to that side of it anyway. And so I think it doesn't get enough play, but it's also a way to kind of break down some of the barriers to getting into live music
Yeah.
for kids in this area who don't have the big scenes like they
or
have.
if kids who want to dip a toe or who can't play an instrument yet or maybe want to, but they still want to be a part of the scene.
Absolutely.
Learning how to run a soundboard or stagecraft or all that stuff, which are very good applicable skills. I mean, Justin, your sound dude, or I don't know what's his title there. He was your sound guy for a while. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is your sound okay?
That works.
Sound dude.
He's got like 7 titles, so
I
you
know.
can use that one.
Many hats.
The first year that I had met him, I went to a few events, and he was the sound guy at all of them. And I'm like, are there no other sound guys in the Tri-Cities?
None that are better.
And I'm like, bro, you need an intern, or we need a whole school of people learning how to twist knobs and put on a good show. And I would like to learn that, since you said no age restrictions.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an advocate, for the past decade or so, been an advocate for self-directed education, which is an actual thing. And I think it's just fabulous to learn things outside of a school environment.
Yes.
And so I love providing opportunities for that.
Love that.
Yeah, we had some people from TC Futures help out with Fusion Fest with the volunteer crew, and that was awesome. That's a great program too. And I just love getting people involved.
Love it.
Yeah, and then of course Open Mic Mondays at the Emerald for.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
No, actually, I do want to talk about that. I've had so many great experiences and met so many people that I still follow today. From there, just strangers. When I go to the open mic, I try to, the great thing about improv or shit like this, you can create a moment that won't happen any other time. Like you're never going to play that run during that solo like you did that one night. And some of the open mic nights, I like to just get a group of strangers on stage, teach them a song, and then perform it. And it's like, almost like Daredevil open mic stuff. Because for me, it's not exciting enough just to go up there and play a song.
Yeah.
But also just the connection of it, that these 4 random people who never met each other, probably won't ever see each other again, You know, they played a Tupac song with me. Or no, dude, when I got Howard, when he was working in the kitchen, I got Howard to come out of the kitchen and he played a Dr. Dre song on the guitar while I rapped.
way.
And two other strangers played Forgot About Dre.
That's
and
fun.
I did the Dr. Dre and Eminem parts. And while Howard played guitar.
I'm embarrassed to say I rarely make it to open mic because it's like
Right.
my night off, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I don't want to go if I don't have to. But,
Yeah, I hear you.
But there's been really cool things to happen over the years
Yeah.
there. That's for sure. There's bands who tour together now who met there when they were 14 years old or whatever. It's because we've been doing it long enough now.
Yeah, but yeah, great things happen when you go to your local open mic night, but especially the Emerald on Mondays.
Ray's has one on Wednesdays now too.
Oh yeah, like a
Yeah,
jam.
I haven't been to it yet, but I do want to go.
Ray's
Yeah.
Jam Night is pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
And they do have a lot of people just purposely put together bands right there the night of at that one.
Band, yes. I always want to do like one of those band lotteries, where like you just get a bunch of people in the room and you make a bunch of bands on the spot. And all right, you guys got 2 weeks to come up with 3 songs and perform them. You
sounds
know,
like fun.
something like that. Put that on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, on the list, going on the list, writing it down right now.
Great things happen when you go out into your community and try to find the other freaks and weirdos and queers and nerds who want to express themselves. Places like the Emerald open mic nights and Tumbleweird, things that it took for me living in Tri-Cities to realize like, okay, it's not the dusty buttfuck conservative place I thought it was going to be, because I had lived in Seattle and Bellingham. And Bellingham is like super duper liberal, but also super duper like conservative. There's like a lot of like, I'm probably gonna cut some of this up, but like a lot of like KKK, like a lot of shit's built on that. But like a lot of the current generations are very aware of it and are very socially aware and conscious and active. And rightly so. Some of it is just white guilt because they should feel guilty, but also just getting with the times and realizing like, no, this isn't how it's done. And anyway. I just went on a tangent.
It's
Yeah,
very
you did just
interesting.
tangent
it's
into
like,
that.
I don't want to get into politics.
No,
I definitely don't
right.
want to get into politics, but
Yeah.
it's like we get dragged into it.
Yeah.
And
No,
like
I mean,
now it's like
yes, you
it's
guys-
just like so in your face that you can't not, it's so hard to not get in, take a side or whatever.
But it's funny that
it's
you're like, bro, I'm just okay. In the case of drag shows that have been targeted, where they broke your windows once, right?
they didn't break them.
Okay.
They put stuff on them.
Oh, okay. They
Yeah.
they vandalized your windows.
Vandalized, yeah.
Yeah. But it just over like to make that political. Like you weren't making a political statement.
No.
You were supporting artists' right to
Yeah.
put on a show that people paid for,
It's called-
and they turned it into like, oh, you guys are whatever, whatever talking points or buzzwords they've been given to attack people that they don't
Yeah.
like. And I don't the total lack of nuance or how they take that as you make it a political statement,
Yeah.
and they retaliate with their political statements, which is to
Exactly.
vandalize public, private property.
Yeah. Love wins.
Yeah.
I like that.
I did not mean to bring it down just by saying butt fuck conservative a few minutes ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get political, and I don't want, that's like not what we're about.
No,
here,
right,
is
no,
to
but
take
it-
sides and all. That's where we're unity and bringing
Yeah.
people together.
For the Tri-Cities mixtape, this is Miguel Ortiz.
Vic Williamson,
Dara Quinn.
Alicia Cullison.
Thank y'all for listening. Good night.
beautiful. That's an episode, dude. That's a serious episode.
Thank